Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to another episode of This is Coaching. I'm one of the hosts, Marquise Navarro. I'm joined today with Monica Riva. Nicola
Hi.
couldn't be here today. And our special guest, Tricia Johnson. We've been friends with Tricia. Well, I've been friends with Tricia for going on over a year now, almost two now.
Oh,
You
yeah. A couple of
Yep.
years we've been
um,
friends already, right?
we're all from the same circle of friends and colleagues that like to coach and enjoy coaching and provide coaching as a profession. And she is one of them. So she is actually one of the founding members of our group. Uh, and I'm actually very happy she was able to jump on today. So, Tricia, welcome. And why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Sure thing. Well, always a pleasure to be with you guys. So I'm very excited about today. Um, as a coach, I am the owner and head coach at Illuminated Life Coaching. And I came into coaching through the field of education. When I was a teacher in the classroom and a special education teacher, we as professionals had coaches. They were called instructional coaches. And my instruction in the classroom improved tenfold. And I was excited to be able to utilize such an amazing resource. Liked it so much, I decided to go into being an instructional coach. So I did that for 3 years. And all the while, I was being trained and using the strategies that I was taught through cognitive coaching. I realized that this was powerful stuff just for life. And so that's when I made the shift. I've always been interested since I can remember about personal improvement and growth. And so it was a very natural shift. And because, like I said, I was seeing the connections to life. And then I was trained with Robbins and Madonis through their coaching program, which was a nice balance between an academic approach and a cognitive approach to a more fluid, more holistic way of coaching. So that's my background in coaching. And I've been doing that for it's been about 9 years total in coaching, but with my own practice, about 4, I believe.
Okay. No, that's good. Very awesome background in coaching. I can see how the correlation between, well, one, education. I believe you're the second person we've had with an education background on here. And the transition from being coached as an educator and then being an educator, transitioning into coaching life seems very common, I think. And no, I enjoy that. So you said it's your coaching background is more holistic. Can you describe that for the audience?
Yeah. So when I think about holistic, there can be very structured accountability type coaching where the coach is very much involved in formulating the direction of a coaching engagement. I, in my philosophy, believe that any client that comes to me probably has the majority of the answers that they need. That doesn't mean that I won't help, I won't give guidance, but really it's more client centered and client driven. So I always talk to my clients and tell them that uh, they are the captain of the ship, and I am just their second hand.
Nice.
So, who is your typical client?
Typically, now I wouldn't say that this is all my clients, but typically my clients are women in mid age, so in midlife, anywhere from late 30s to mid 50s, and women. And they are, majority of them are mothers, and they are feeling like they have everything that they would want in their life, the relationship, the family, the house, and realizing that they are not satisfied with that there's something missing.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a lot of women, probably men too, that get to a certain age and they
I
find
do
that.
have men clients too.
Oh, you do?
I
Okay.
do. But the majority, I would say, are women.
Yeah, I think the with that particular like niche, I don't want to call it a niche because it's just something that happens to everyone. But women who, even if they, so especially if they haven't like worked for a while, right? And they've worked on their family and their relationships, just like you said, now it's something else. Like, all right, all this stuff is perfect. How do I do something else? With men, we're like, all right, we got the wife at home making everything perfect. I got this awesome job. And then that's when we get bored. And then we're usually about 55. I'm almost there. So another 10 years, I'm going to be calling you
Right.
and
Right. And
asking you to help me out. Okay.
to throw a different perspective into there too, there's a lot of working moms too. So they're working outside the home, they're managing the home, and realizing that they're doing a lot to please a bunch of other people rather than themselves. And so I think that that's probably another group I'd like to speak about. Just a brief mention there.
No, I completely understand that. That is actually very common in the military with active duty spouses.
Yeah.
Because trust me, my wife would come home and work harder. Don't get me wrong, I cook, but she does all the other stuff. Keeping things clean and chasing after the kids, making sure their homework was done. So I completely understand where you would find working women who are doing all this stuff at work and then coming home and doing all this other stuff for everyone else, and then they don't have their time. So yeah, I can relate.
Do you happen to get clients that also, like, for example, they start out young, working in a job, not really knowing what they want to do with their life, and then they get to a certain point where they realize that, oh, life is more, should be more than this. Does that happen to your clients too?
Yes, I've had some clients too who, and it might be our age group, I'm not sure. It seems to be a trend that a lot of people went into a certain career, kind of ignoring what their heart was saying because they were being told like, that's not the right kind of career, or you're not going to make money in that career, you're not going to be happy in that career. So I think that there's an element of that too that I see. And they've gone into these careers and they, maybe they were satisfied at first, or maybe they were never satisfied, but now are giving themselves permission to look in a different direction.
So what would you say would be their, that moment where they decided that, all right, this is no longer for me? Is it all around the same? Or is it like completely, everyone's different? It was a different type of scenario, different situation.
That's a great question, Marquise. I don't think that there's any one thing that I could say is the same for everybody, but there is a trend that typically there is a big life event. And so whether there's a divorce or loss of a parent or a diagnosis of a disease, big life altering situations can bring on those reconsiderations of our lives. And I think that that's a trend I see often in the clients that I support.
But does that make the coaching harder? I mean, you're basically coaching on two things at that time. Are you coaching them through their struggles as well as figuring out their new path, or how do you do this?
So another great question, Monica. I don't find it any more difficult because typically when people come to me for coaching support, they come with something, but then there's all this other stuff that they have that is probably keeping them from thriving, that's underneath the surface. And typically coaching will work through both of those things. You might start with an event in life and then dig deeper from there. And that kind of speaks to that more holistic piece too, right?
That definitely makes sense. I think, we've had conversations about this, in the past about you go in with one idea of what you think you need to be coached on. And this is as a coachee, right?
Right.
Next thing you know, I'm talking about something way completely different that led me to the whole spiral that got me to the point of thinking, okay, I need help with this other thing.
Yeah.
And that's,
and I have experienced that too personally, and I still experience that. I have my own coach, and it's so interesting because we all have blind spots. No matter how much development we've done for ourselves or growth we've done for ourselves, right? We still have our blind spots. And so I'm with you. I totally can relate to that too, and my clients can too.
Yeah, I wonder if now, would you say they're blind spots, or would you say that they're spots we don't want to talk about until somebody forces us to talk about them?
Both.
Yeah,
Both.
that's what I find in the folks like I've worked with, and it's maybe I attract those people because I'm the same way, right? I'm like, I don't want to talk about this thing over here, so I'm going to talk about this, and then next you know, I'm talking about that thing I didn't want to talk about, and it's getting all mushy and emotional, and I'm like, okay, we're done. So, I think it's very interesting how a coaching conversation is it starts out one way and goes to another. But I wanted to key in on something that you said earlier, which I thought was awesome. When people come to me for coaching support, I really like that. I haven't heard a coach actually use that. Um, and I wonder if you could, I don't know, maybe explain a little bit about why you say coaching support.
Oh, well, I don't know if I've really thought of it that in-depth way. It's probably based in my approach. I think that life is something that we don't do alone, but oftentimes we're forced to, or the people that are in our lives, we can have great supports in our life, right? But I would say that, when I go to my husband or I go to my girlfriends, it's not the same kind of support that I get from a coach. Um, when in coaching, as a coachee being coached, I find that it is completely about me. And that's how I approach coaching too with my clients, is it is completely about them. And very few times in life do we have the space to just focus on ourselves. And when we do, either we don't want to, like you mentioned, or we busy ourselves. We have a million things to do that we'd rather put in front of that work. And so coaching support is a place to do that work. So
Amazing answer.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, very, very, very seldom you can go to a friend and have like 10 minutes, half an hour time to talk about your things. Because there's always something from the other side. Yeah, well, that happened to me too, right? Or this happened to me, which is worse than what happened to you. So we end up, you don't get that from anybody else than from a coach, this kind of support.
It doesn't allow you to go deep, and it doesn't allow you to really assess what's going on underneath the surface and what needs to change. Also, I mean, just in its nature, coaching provides a space for accountability. And I did mention that accountability can be where coaching can stay. Definitely not that kind of coach, but even deep coaching, even more holistic coaching just offers that. If I know that I'm going to be meeting with you, Monica, in a week, I'm going to be doing my stuff.
Me too.
And the same is true for my clients. It doesn't take a lot of following up or did you do this or did you do that? Oh my goodness. It's not that. It just by its very nature provides that accountability.
No, that's a good point. I think that is very important for folks to know, because again, when we talk about in these episodes like coaching, we have different coaches from all sorts of different walks of life, different backgrounds, different types of coaches, and they all coach differently. They all have different methods and systems. Some are, like you said, more accountability based. Like for me, that would be me. Did you take care of the homework assignment I gave you last week? But I think that comes from my, military training. It's very bam, bam, bam. Now transitioning into the more holistic world, is perfect. Like it's great, because some people, they just need one, somebody to listen, and two, somebody to ask the right questions. And I think that is where, well, one, you and others like you come in, right? Because you are looking at the whole person and the whole scenario, and you're asking the right questions without being confrontational. So I think that is important too, because I've seen you coach, and it's very fun to watch.
Thank you.
Yeah. So
I did want to say something. I'm so sorry to interrupt, but I did want to say something. It's difficult to explain holistic coaching, right? I keep saying right. My apologies. but it is difficult to describe. And Marquise, I disagree with you a little bit because I think your coaching is much deeper than you see. It might start with accountability, but I think that when you're working just on the accountability level, there's not a lot of change that's happening long term.
Right.
I think that more holistic coaching is about making little changes that have a huge impact on your life in a permanent way, as opposed to just, I'm trying to think, when I think about accountability, sometimes it's about weight loss, right? So when you're checking in with a coach for accountability and weight loss, it might be what you ate, did you exercise? But that doesn't necessarily change the problem that you might have underneath the surface in regard to weight loss and what's causing the weight gain, what's causing the eating habits that are causing weight gain, all those kind of things. Why don't you want to work out? So that might also help.
No, that is actually a good point. And you are correct. It is very difficult to describe holistic. Because when I first started out, I started out as an executive coach. My whole goal was to be helping people improve their leadership. And it never worked out that way because everybody wanted to talk about the other stuff that was going on in their life. So I had to change and start looking, and I couldn't call it holistic. I just called it, I had to look at the whole person, which, I appreciate that. I think some of my coaching can be deep, but at the end of the day, still knife hands and eyebrows. But
no, well, you even coached me on some deep stuff. So you remember when I lost my spark? I mean, that was deep stuff.
I do remember that now that you mentioned it. And I think it's unintentional, but I know it does happen every now and then. I think of the client, like you said, the client takes you where you're supposed to go. And if you're a decent coach or a really good coach like you two ladies, you're going to instinctually follow. Some coaches like myself, I have a hard time following at first. I got to get kind of pulled. And then I'm like, okay, so we're not talking about this. We're going to go ahead and talk about this. That's awesome. So here's another question I ask all the guests. What is your, if you had to explain what coaching is, again, to the novice? I know you've explained a lot about, your coaching, but if you had to explain what coaching is, what would you say it is?
For everybody, in the sense of anyone who comes to coaching and anyone who is a coach?
For anyone who says, I'm not sure about coaching, why should I go that route instead of, I don't know, therapy?
Somebody that doesn't know anything about it.
Even though it's completely different.
So I would say that coaching is fantastic for the person who is feeling okay mentally and physically, but is just kind of got some of that malaise, that if I pronounce that correctly, just kind of that stuck feeling or that blah feeling. I think that coaching can be a really great place to, you mentioned your spark, Monica. It can be a really great place to take a mediocre life and make it amazing. I don't think it's just that kind of person. I think that if you're a person who already has goals in mind and is very forward thinking and acts on those goals, it can still be a great place for you to get support as well, because you're just going to amplify your results. And I think that's probably maybe what I should land on is coaching allows you to put on the gas pedal to having what you want happen in your life, whether you know what that is or you don't know what that is. It helps you identify that and helps you get the gas going so that you can do this within, a year versus 3 years. Life is short. I've seen lots of people in my life pass away too soon, and I am not going to let a moment of my life slip through that isn't used well. That doesn't mean we always have to be moving. Sometimes we have to slow down too and really enjoy what's around us. Coaching allows you to figure out when you do what and how.
Yes.
That's an amazing explanation. The gas pedal, and really makes it clear to people how amazing coaching is.
Yeah. Unbiased, but yeah.
And I think you definitely hit the nail on the head there, because it is about acceleration and, you know, deceleration, right? When it lets you, what do you say? It lets you know when to do what you need to do, right? And I
Yeah.
probably butchered exactly what you said, but
Well, and really quick too, sometimes you have to slow down, because if you don't slow down, the speed at which you're going, you're not really doing what you need to be doing.
exactly.
And so just to throw that in there too.
Yeah.
But what were you going to say?
No, exactly that. Like if you're just focusing on one thing, let's say work, right? And it's like, I forgot what the book was, the one thing they talk about, right?
Yeah.
Certain things, there's no such thing as balance. It's counterbalance. So you have to know when to focus on one thing and let the other slide for a little bit, and then reverse. You know, for instance, work and family. That's always the big one. When you have like career people, right? How can I balance work and life? You can't. One's going to suffer from it.
Can I offer you a really cool visual too? And I want it for our listeners too. You're right. There is no such thing as balance when we think about it like this, right? Have you guys ever seen or know what a cairn is? The rock stacks that mark trails and hiking?
I've heard of them, but I don't think.
So it's these beautiful, natural, people will take rocks and they'll stack them in really interesting ways to mark the trail, so you know where to go. Well, that has to have balance in it, right? But that includes everything.
Yes.
So it's a visual to know there's some big rocks, there's small rocks, but they all fit in a certain way that's really tailored to that person. But you have to think very carefully about how you're going to stack those rocks in order to keep balance. It's not this. This is this or that.
Yes.
A cairn is everything. And how do we put that all in line in a way that works for an individual?
Yeah, and that's very difficult to do, right? I don't know anybody that's got it down perfect, but there's definitely folks out there that are better at it than me. I'll tell you what. Nice.
You need a lot of patience to get it right. So even in coaching, you need, the clients, do they need a lot of patience to get it right and get in coaching and get the results that they want? Does that take a lot of patience?
I think that's a really good point, Monica. I haven't thought of it that way, but absolutely. I think the more patient we have enough bosses and dictators in our lives, and we're probably the biggest one for ourselves. Very few people need rigid, rough coaching. I know a few coaches that are that way, but most people just need the patience to fall down and get back up, fall down, get back up, and have a cheerleader along the way and help see what adjustments need to be made.
So here's a question for you. Isn't this more regards to your coaching? Mm-hmm. If somebody were to sign on with you, like how long are you typically working with people?
So I've shifted just a little bit. I had been working with clients for 3 months at a time. And I realized that right at that 3-month mark, everyone's doing really great. Mm-hmm. But I wouldn't say, we're unraveling, most of the time we're unraveling habits from a lifetime, and 3 months doesn't cut it. And so I've shifted to 6 months at a time and meeting once a week, obviously shifting here and there when we need to, but.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I know there's a lot of coaches out there that have these really short programs. But I've noticed that as well, working through my nonprofits that I work with. Mm-hmm. And it's a year-long program, and one of them finished, but I still talk to them on a regular basis. It's not every week, but I still get calls every now and then, say, hey, can you spare me, some time? Mm-hmm. I say yes. I talk to them, and we're still, working things out. And it's depending on the person. It can be a very long process, mm-hmm. which indeed in the long run is good for everybody, in my opinion, because I know when I'm coaching, I'm learning about myself as well.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I think I've mentioned that before, but that's very important. Another reason why I like coaching. Sometimes it's the reason why I don't like coaching either, because I learn more about myself there.
Oh man, I'm going through that same thing again.
So no, that's good. And are your sessions how long are your sessions, or do they vary?
They vary, but typically when I engage with a new client, I let them know that it's anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half.
Nice. That's actually a really good time.
You can go really deep, right? In an hour and a half. You can get.
You really can.
Yeah.
I remember the conversations that we would all have, and we're going to be on for an hour, and then 2.5 hours later,
right?
Gotta go, guys. Awesome. So,
but do you think that after? Sorry.
No, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Do you think that after 6 months, the client is done, or do you feel that everybody should have a coach always?
Well, I'm biased. In the last 8 years, I think that I have maybe for 6 months not been in my own coaching work with a coach at a time. And there's breaks in between, but life is the most complex thing, right? And so having a coach, I'm always growing and I'm growing faster than I would have been without a coach. So if I were to talk to my clients, I think everyone's different. And I have had, I'd say about half of my clients come back to me about a year later with a new challenge and a new exciting thing that they are taking on. And they know that work that we did before helped them in that way that they needed at that time. And they know it's going to get them where they want to go even faster and farther. So they come back, which is great. I always love that.
Now, are you in person or virtual or both?
I am online. So all virtual. I've always been virtual. So I didn't have to shift. And so my clients found that very easy. I think they were all very excited when everyone went to Zoom because they're like, oh, I know Zoom, for those who weren't sure.
Yeah, because we want to make sure that folks know that if you don't, just because you don't live in the same area, you can still get,
Yeah, I've even coached people in Copenhagen. So that's the furthest away I've coached, but yes.
Yeah, you can coach all over the world, right?
Yeah.
And you have anybody.
Yeah, so it's been really great.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so do you have a website?
I do. It is www.triciajohnson.com. And that's TRISHJOHNSON.com.
Awesome. And they can sign up, for consultations and everything through there?
Yeah, so there you'll find a little bit about me. You'll find my reviews. I also have a podcast of my own. There's episodes there. If you're looking to get to know me and who I am and what I'm about. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram, which you can find at my website, direct links to those. And what else would you find there? I think that's about it, but
awesome.
Any thoughts? Did I miss anything there? What would you say, Marquise?
No, I think we found everything there.
Oh, I know what it was. You'll have there's a direct link to sign up. That's what we were talking about. So if you'd like to have a discovery session with me, it'll take you to my scheduling page.
Awesome. Well, I think we have covered everything. Did you want to add anything else before we sign off?
Oh, no, this has been an absolute pleasure. I'm a huge fan of coaching. I've said it before. And so anyone who's listening, you've got great coaches on this call, Monica and Marquise, and I know that Nicolette is also a part of this work. And so, I just don't hesitate. If anyone's on the fence, they want to know what it's about, just jump in and try it. I think you'll know. I don't think anyone will regret it.
I agree, but I could be, like you said, a little biased. Monica, did you have anything?
No, it's been awesome to have you here, Trish. You're a great coach. I really want everybody just to check out your website and check you out.
Thank you. It's been such a pleasure being here with you guys today. As always, I enjoy your company, and thanks for letting me be here.
No, thank you again for jumping on. For everybody listening, you definitely do need to go check her out. She's an amazing coach, amazing person, and she'll make you think about stuff you didn't think you were thinking about uh, during the session. Trust me, I've seen it, I've experienced it.
And we're going to put a link in the show notes, right?
Yep, and we're going to link everything in the show notes to include our contact information. If anybody wants to get a hold of us, you can reach us at thisiscoachingshow@gmail.com. Anything you send us, questions, comments, concerns, is confidential unless you tell us we can share it on the podcast. Or if you'd like to jump on for a coaching session by all the hosts, i.e. myself, Monica, and Nicolette, we can do that too. And I think that'd be a great time personally. So yeah, let us know. But once again, thank you, Monica. Thank you, Trish, especially. And until next time, see y'all later.